What's up guys? So today it has been 6 months since I purchased my Leica M7. So today's video I'm going to talk about my shooting experience with the camera, everything I love about it, and my overall feel about the camera. So let's jump into it. So since the last 6 months guys, since I bought this camera, I have not put it down. It has changed the way I shoot. I take it everywhere. I take it to work, it's always in the car. If I'm in the city, I take it with me. And I have shot more rolls of film in the last 6 months than I have in the last 2 years since I started shooting film. You just don't want to put this camera down. I mean, it's an iconic Leica. Its styling is very beautiful. The camera looks amazing. Everything about it just makes you want to shoot it and keep shooting. You never want to put it down. If you own a Leica, you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you buy one for yourself, you'll quickly come to understand how much of a beautiful camera and a dream it is to just shoot and have with you all the time. Now, a couple things that I absolutely love about this camera, which has changed the way I shoot, and that is frame lines. I've only ever, prior to buying this camera, I played around with a friend's Voigtlander Bessa for 10-15 minutes, but never put much film through it. I shot a few of his frames on it, but never really had a rangefinder. I've always shot film with SLRs, like my F3 here. Always shot with SLRs. But having the frame lines on a rangefinder, especially with a 50mm lens, I mean, just the ability to see what's coming into the frame before it's actually in there is fantastic for street. I mean, it's changed the way I shoot street photography. Just being able to frame up each shot like that is fantastic. Even with a 35mm on there and the lines on as well, not as much room to play with a 35 as it is with a 50 with the frame lines. But it just makes framing really easy and fantastic. The positive side of that is, having those frame lines when you want to frame up a shot, where it be architectural or something along those lines. You've got the ability to crop out certain things outside of those frame lines or add them, but you can see everything around the frame lines. So it makes composition really easy, and it's a fantastic tool to work with. Another thing with rangefinders that I love, but first we'll start with the SLR. So with an SLR, on the street, if you're trying to get up, close to someone and take a photo, that shutter slap can be very, very noisy. I mean, it's not too bad on the F3 here, but if you getting up close to someone, let's say you try and take a portrait of someone real close, you get up, you snap it, they hear it and they turn around and look at you. They know you've taken a photo. And that can get you into trouble sometimes. I've never had any issues with that. I think it's probably because I'm 6'3" and 120 kilos that people look at me and they go, yeah, no, I'm not going to say anything. So that's a bonus. But I have heard of people getting into some, dicey situations on the street when they're trying to, they're probably taking a photo that they shouldn't have, and people realise as soon as they hear that mirror slap, they go, oh, what are you doing, taking photos of me? But with a rangefinder, it is so quiet, you can barely hear it. I'm not going to fire off a shot right now because I've got some film in the camera. But it is so quiet, very inconspicuous. Definitely makes it easy to get in close to a situation. Even if you're zone focusing and shooting from the hip, people don't even know you've taken a photo. It is so bloody quiet. It's fantastic. And that brings me to the other side of it. The fact that we don't have mirror slap, there is less vibration. So having that cloth plane shutter in there, makes hand holding shots so much easier. I mean, I can comfortably shoot at a 15th of a second. Obviously you got to have steady hands, but me personally, I can comfortably shoot at a 15th of a second, even an 1/8 of a second if I really need to. But at a 15th of a second, I'm not worried about the shot being blurry or out of focus. I know that I can hold it steady enough, and that there's so little movement in that shutter that you can shoot in low light at low shutter speeds and still get a crisp picture. It's fantastic. Now, getting down to the business end of this video, and that's the money aspect. I have two Zeiss lenses that I use for this camera. I've got a 35 2.8 and a 50mm f2. Both Zeiss lenses. Personally, I can't afford Leica glass, guys, and there's not a lot of people who can. But I have had some amazing results with these two Zeiss lenses, and I can't recommend them highly enough to people. I mean, if you want to get into the Leica game and you, okay, I can get a Leica, but I can't afford Leica glass, don't worry about it. There is this absurd, you know, snobberism, let's call it, among Leica people, and it's out there, it's true, that they think that you can't have a Leica and not shoot Leica glass. That is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. But you know, if I could afford Leica glass, maybe, but I have had such good results with these Zeiss lenses that I'm so happy with them. And if you guys are worried about that, thinking, oh, I'm gonna get the camera but I can't afford the glass, you know, a lot of people do turn to Voigtlander and Zeiss, especially Zeiss. Zeiss are just known for amazing lenses. And you will not be disappointed if you pick yourself up a Zeiss to go along with your Leica. And then the other side of, you know, the money issue with the Leica is when I bought this, if you guys have watched my first video I put out on this, I paid 2,400 Australian dollars, which is a lot of money for a film camera. It is a lot of money for a film camera. You know, I'm used to cheap SLRs. I've always bought, you know, $200-300 for an F3 in good condition, and you know, it does the job. It's fantastic. But I've always wanted a Leica, and like I said in that first video, I got a wicked deal. The guys who I bought it from, they had a used M6 Classic, which was kind of beat up, but in good condition, and they had the M7. And I only paid another $500 to get the M7, which is, you know, amazing. Having that aperture priority mode is the biggest difference, to be perfectly honest, and it's fantastic to have it, but you don't need it. What are you doing? Oh, hello, Muffin. Do you want to be on YouTube? Oh, sassy rab, go on, get out of here. But like I was saying, you know, the M6 is a perfectly capable. Oh, we got a bloody rabbit here going everywhere. But the M6, you know, perfectly capable. That is, you know, more of an iconic and heralded camera than the M7. Been around longer. So many, you know, famous street photographers have used that camera. So if you can't afford to get an M7, hey, grab an M6 by all means. You know, it just gets you into the Leica game, because you know it has changed the way I shoot. Definitely, I can't recommend. You know, if you're a film shooter and you've always wanted one, and you can afford it, go ahead and buy one. You will not regret it. You know, as I said, if you're tight on budget, M6. If you're even tighter on budget, you know, and you don't care about a light meter, you got your M4, M2. And if you're a 50 shooter especially, you probably save a lot of money. Grab yourself like an M2 or an M3, which have the, you know, 50 frame lines on them, and you don't need, you need goggles to use wider lenses. But if you're a 50 shooter, you could save a lot of money. Grab yourself an M2 with a 50 lens and be absolutely happy with that. So I know money is a big issue. You know, the world revolves around bloody money. But if you can get into, if you want to get into the Leica game, and this is what you're worried about, like me, I was. It's a lot of money. You know, will I enjoy the camera? Will I use it often? You know, get rid of all those reservations, guys. As soon as you pick up a camera like this, you just want to shoot, you're out shooting all the time, and it is definitely worth the money, because these, as I said, these cameras can always be repaired if you send them off to Germany. So they're more or less going to last you your whole life, so you don't have to worry about, in that sense, about ever having to buy another one. But I can highly recommend it. If you can afford it, get into it and you will not regret it. Alright guys, that does it for me today. So I hope if you're in the market for a Leica, or you're wanting to buy one and you had some reservations about it, I hope this video may have helped you, you know, and made you realize that, you know, if you get one, you know, you will use it and it is a fantastic camera. So that does it for me, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of Shoots with Coops, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.